Welcome back to the Loud Sound Epicenter podcast. Good to be back here. Didn't even plan to go live, but you know what? I figure why not? We got some people in chat. It's not too late, unless we're talking about East Coast gang. But I just wanted to pop in here for a bit. Doesn't have to be a long stream, doesn't have to be overwhelming, but is that a got some hair or something? I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, there's been a couple of things going on that I'd like to get into, if you don't mind. Hey, we got the man himself. Good to see you in here, buddy. Um, I got to tell you, I'm really enjoying the AA waging war against everybody on Twitter. I mean, I disagree, of course, with a lot of it, but there is something to be said about a guy who's just gonna go out there on the timeline and basically be a pariah. I mean, effectively, that's what's unraveling. But hey, Trouble Armstrong, yeah, thank you for getting the movie back in my head once again. One of my favorites, Once Upon a Time. I got a poster for that, but I don't know if if that would look good in the background. Maybe. We'll see. Well, maybe when we get an upgraded studio, we can experiment a little bit. But yeah, what is it? Eight whiskey sours, crying, falling apart, trying to reel it in. Nah, that's good times, good times. Trouble Armstrong. Hey, relating a little too hard with that one. Seem to be getting more backer as time. That is true. Thank you, Trouble Armstrong. Yo, Captain Steel. The regulars, man, my goodness. What's Ace going to say? Good question. Yeah, I just wanted to listen, I got a lot on my mind. Not sure where to start. What should I start with? Should it be something serious or I don't know. The weekend's winding down, so we're back at another week. Favorites. Aw, thank you, man. Thank you, Captain. Still appreciate it. There's a lot of them out there. Maybe AA wouldn't allow them on his page, but hey, we'll see what's going on. Well, okay, I will start on a serious note. I want to give a big shout out to Kai Schwimmer, our favorite Mormon, who, from what I hear, did a fantastic job over at Trad Forum. I Nobody told me that he did well, but I'm assuming based off of the posts on social media. Him and E. Michael Jones are and Roosh V, I think, were over there giving some speeches from what it looked like. So I was listening to Trad Forum. It might have been last year's or maybe a few months ago. The upload says about 8 months. And I got to tell you, that stuff's right up my alley. E. Michael Jones is one of those ones where Thomas gives him a shout out, even though he's not Catholic, he's Presbyterian. And still, he really goes for that stuff. And I did miss the Jared Taylor interview with Politically Provoked. I popped in for a little bit, and then I went and took a shower, but looked like it was kind of the usual spiel, so I didn't really see a need to spend too much time. It's really starting to make sense, the whole Jared Taylor versus E. Michael Jones dichotomy. I know Nick was a lot more sympathetic to Taylor during that debate. I think that was with the person who hosted the movie reviews with some of our favorite people. And the the Jared Taylor talking points are definitely relevant for the current situation. But no, it is telling stuff that he leaves out, and so that's where the E. Michael Jones might be the better alternative there. And also it's something that's very palatable. When we saw him over in Arizona, it's not really the delivery that I think is going to convince people, and for a topic that you can really frame in a couple of ways. Somebody like E. Michael Jones is talking about religion. This is something that is going to exist in the foreseeable future. So, I think that kind of, reaching out to people in a certain way, even if people say E. Michael Jones doesn't come across as a good debater, I think substance-wise, obviously, you wanna combine the 2 together. They're, get both of their strengths. But yeah, the E. Michael Jones approach, and, I gotta talk about this with mutants, but, I overlooked the fact that E. Michael Jones is very Hegelian. So, that's something that I kind of neglect when I'm going through E. Michael Jones content, but hey, a lot of themes I like to touch on this show. So yeah, hey, congrats, E. Michael Jones, Kai Eclipse, a Mormon and a Catholic, but hey, we're all dissidents, so what a good time. And once again, another IRL event, and it's not getting flashy promos and this and that, because that's not what it's about. Like I said with Thomas's Mind Phaser episode, which will be out, you guys can get a taste of that. But hey, Green Glassful, am I on Twitter? Of course, buddy. Let's get the uh let's get the URL in there. So, oh, what's going on? Are we having dilemmas with the super chats again? Well, what's the deal? Is it not visible? Yeah, and that's the other thing too. The thing about that event is Roosh V was there, and Roosh V is one of these guys who kinda came out of the manosphere. I remember I wasn't there at the time, but looking back, there's a Roosh V, Nick, and, Laura Loomer, of all people. They did that panel talking about something, and, it's just the arcs, everybody's arcs since the, what was that? Late 2017 or 2018. A lot of, a lot of character that, kinda go down different paths. So, yeah, Marshall Ford, are you giving me, some bad news here? Is he ortho? I'm not sure. I think that sounds right. But yeah, got this Andrew Torba, Christian nationalist book. So, I like the momentum. I like the momentum that we're seeing here from, some of the characters all over this dissident space. Travelogues. Is that right? No, I was out of the loop, I'm blocked by Mike Cernovich, and, oh, okay, there we go. Thank you, Marshall Forward. You didn't have to prove it by sending one, but I was wondering if, because I am a bit of a boomer in that regard, so, yeah, go figure with that one. But no, I've just been thinking about some people and thinking about this semester and how past semesters have been. I like this little train ride we're on at the moment. So, sorry if I don't have just like a set show for you guys, but I just wanted to mingle, wanted to be casual, even though it's not Friday. But yeah. Fat Elvis Jr. Which hasn't uploaded to Cozy. Yeah, I don't know if he ever did. Doesn't he have a channel? There's like 100 channels, but only a handful of them really. It's not really proportional, so go figure. But hey, that's why we need like a pop culture guy to get in there, or, a movie critic, something. It you know, would mesh really well with what Dalton's doing, and it could also, have some other stuff in between the gaming and, like, what Wendell's doing at the moment. He's going through Heritage Foundation, and, It's getting me thinking, it's getting me thinking. What was your favorite metal album so far this year? Probably the Megadeth one. Yeah, I know it comes across as like I'm criticizing that album, but I do like it, and I was also critical of the singles. I need to stop being so greedy whenever, new music comes out and it's not exactly what I expect. But the thing about this newest Megadeth album is it's probably heavier than Dystopia. Now I prefer Dystopia just because I mean that was an album that I had during my, high school years. To me it kind of has like a Iron Maiden Killers where the first 5-ish songs kind of string well together. You got those melodic intros too. That's what people gotta think of when they think of metal. I know everybody thinks of screaming and the heaviest riff, but, like, when Ozzy has his melodic moments on Bark at the Moon, a song like Spiders, it's just groovy, and that's still metal, like Aaron McIntyre says, it's still that tone, and that's why Ozzy's, like, a good gateway into, or he's a palatable gateway to, like, somebody who isn't really exposed to that kind of music consistently. 'Cause it's melodic, it's something that can easily be played on the radio, and it does for a notable reason. But yeah, you know, I appreciate that the new Ozzy album has those moments. It's taking the No More Tears format and kind of taking advantage of it, but I don't know, kinda using it as a crutch, and so now we're in this post-Scream era, the album Scream. There's not a lot of screaming, or it doesn't sound like it on the new album, and that's a little whatever, but that's the thing. The younger bands, they're gonna have looking at the elders, and they're gonna have to look for each other. I think that's gonna be productive because again, we be nostalgia farewell tour part 3. But hey, thank you, Marshall Ford, 199. Appreciate you, man. Refresh, they are playing games. Only Wendell is the greatest. Hey, I know I love the guy. I love the guy. And he really helps me organize my thoughts and, he's the man. What more could you ask for? Captain Steel, thank you, 4.99. Appreciate you, man. What's up, big guy? What are your thoughts on As I Lay Dying? Never really got into it. That's probably up my new metal roots alley. Atreyu, Bleeding Mascara. Woke up on the wrong side of the bed tonight. Yeah, yeah. You know what's kind of underrated? This also kinda happened in the, first Susie and the Banshees album. She had that intro, what was it called? Before Feeling, which is honestly one of my favorite songs from them, even though it's first song, first album. You'd expect something else, but I mean, it just makes such a good impression. It's kinda interesting to think Ted Nugent, Stranglehold being first song, first album, and it's like, the idea that may never topped the first song of his entire career. It kinda sounds like an insult, but he set the bar high with his so it kinda makes it sound like he's never living up to his standard, but I mean, that's a good standard, just like the first Van Halen album, the first, Doors album. Debuts, man, some people just come out swinging. Hey, American Populist, what's going on, man? Love this guy. This guy getting all the civil rights lore out of Thomas, man. Good for you, man. Similar thing, talking about white flight, talking about, what's that book that Pete Quinones is gonna be reviewing? People should really, I mean yo, Danielle in chat. Hey, since Danielle is in chat, I think now is as good as time as any to, just talk about the fact that among many things, this show is, in fact, you could say, descriptively, bit of a hodgepodge. It is what it is. It speaks for itself. But hey, It's just such a, relevant label, what can I say? But no, we got it. We got them right here. We got our little guys here. What's the yeah, here's the other one. Yeah, I wonder if you can buy new ones. Go to Build a Bear Workshop or Claire's. What are the mall staples? Yeah, I don't know how to frame them though. They always as you guys know, they just keep falling. Is that analogous? You ever fed them? No, I haven't. I have not. I don't think these things even work. Maybe that's part of the instead of having nostalgia for, like, older music, we just have nostalgia for parts of our generation, you know? Instead of going back multiple decades, we just have to go back to, like, 5 years. Maybe that's the nostalgia that can keep us going. Because if we go back too far, then we're basically boomers, and I don't wanna be that archetype. I want us to be us, and, the elitism can be a little polarizing, but if we're just trying to stay within our thing, that shouldn't be too much to ask. I was thinking about this while getting ready for the show, but there is something to, among other things, the Valley Girl and Goth Girl relationship. Because if we as Zoomers project our culture, have some authentic expression, and people start to take notice, who are the first people on the high school, Pareto pyramid, the food chart in school terms? Who's gonna be the first demographic that's gonna take notice? It's gonna be the people at the bottom, because we're relative to everything else, we're kind of, like, on the bottom of the pendulum. No offense to our Zoomers, but, we're trying to get our thing going, the dissident right's trying to project power. We're not up to the Peter Thiel level, we're not up to the Yoram Hazony level. So at this early phase, the early Rodney Bingenheimer, early CBGB's phase where people are just starting to figure out what this is, first issue of Punk magazine, who's gonna be our audience? It's gonna be artsy types, it's gonna be outcasts, goths, and if our popularity can keep momentum, then we're gonna it's just like the music industry. You're gonna open up your audience and maybe you get some commercial people, but eventually you start with the goths and then you make your way. Who's at the top of the pyramid? Jerry Lee Lewis is at the bottom here because he's such a rambunctious figure. Tumblr, yes, there you go. Tumblr girls. Hey, I think Danielle might even get some enjoyment out of some of the Catherine D coverage, maybe even some Alex Kashuta videos, 'cause, that is a very big red pill. I think that's something that a lot of women can easily digest, and it doesn't really sound political, you know? A lot of the stuff I talk about on this show is technically political, but really I'm just talking about the stuff that I grew up with, metal and the movies I watched. And there is sort of a weird relationship, like in LA, for instance, there was a venue that was run by Eddie Nash, who's a infamous LA gangster. And, at that same era in the 70s, you had Van Halen playing those gigs. And so here you have the crime world intersecting with the city. If you like LA Confidential, if you like, what's the author who does those noir? He does all the LA. My goodness. This is how you know I'm a Zoomer because this is something that those guys would remember, but to me, LA is, The Runaways and Quiet Riot. James Ellroy, yeah, Thomas would have known that one, but, Yeah, you guys know. No, not Raymond Chandler, but close, close. But yeah, that's the thing, you know? That's how our thing doesn't become reduced to academia, political theory exclusively. Our thing is really everybody else's thing. We just gotta come at it from that reactionary disposition. So, but yeah, the Tumblr girls, hey, I mean that's a political topic in and of itself. How do you get people going from watching Glee and then like refugees, they take refuge in these sites that are like basically what happened to the video game industry. All these independent companies are just easily infiltrated. And I mean, it's not even infiltration. It's like that's who showed up. That's who's there. And now you have a certain culture that I think people on the right just weren't ready for. And that's the thing. That's how it all happens. Space is occupied. I've been watching Charlemagne's Leninism videos, and it's just, you can easily make sense of the music industry and certain figures. I was kind of obsessed with the Avril Lavigne versus Britney, some of the early pop in the early 2000s. Kind of trying to force a conspiratorial angle with that, but I'm not so sure I can really push that. But anyways, that's kind of the thing. I like this little casual thing we got, and you guys are helping me out along the way. Oh, media hits, my goodness. Thank you, media hits, for the 20 bucks. Just listening to Gigi Allen. Split LP material from 81, 82. Obscure German label. Artless is good. Better Gigi stuff. Slash Power Pop. It's on YouTube. Is that right? Hey, thank you, man. I'll check that out. I know that Thomas really likes his brother, the Murder Junkies. And I think that one was had a little bit more substance. I know Gigi Allen's the infamous one, but I think he was trying to make a different type of band with that one, but I think I've only heard bits of one song. If that's the same band that I'm thinking of. Yo, Joshua Ham, what's going on, man? Good to see you in here. Good to have a blue check guy in here. Very rare. Captain Steel again. Thank you, man. 4.99. I'm thinking we need a show dedicated to metal. Hey, maybe me and Mr. Patriarch. Maybe maybe we can get a ragtag group together. Yeah, metalcore. It is interesting because Pantera kind of opened the door for that to be so widely accepted. I mean, the idea that Pantera was so mainstream, that's the kind of stuff where, I mean, how could anybody predict that? And metalcore coming right after. Some might see it as a perversion. Some might see it as just a natural lineage after, if it's okay for Phil Anselmo to just scream into the mic, then why can't we have younger people doing the same thing plus the pop punk style? But, I'm sympathetic to some of it. To me, it's different than pop punk. Pop punk is kind of rhythmically doing the punk thing, but the vocals are just it's all wrong. The vocals aren't supposed to be melodic. With metalcore, I almost kind of give them some leeway because, there's some shredding in there. I remember some of the Atreyu stuff and some of the angsty 3 Days Grace. Yeah, I mean, that's not really metalcore, but hey, Bullet for My Valentine. Some of that stuff even sounds more in sync with the classic metal. Some don't give it proper credit because it all kind of gets lumped in. That's the thing. You gotta be a little more organized with your subgenres. I know it's a bit confusing. I mean, imagine trying to help out just, the average person trying to sift through what's the difference between Kill Switch Engage and like we were saying earlier with Ozzy. I mean, but I mean, these things are very distinct. I don't think you would find many people that would lump all of it into one category. Asking Alexandria, yeah, yeah. And you know what's funny is that's kind of getting the women into metal, which is very strange. Sleeping with Sirens. That's what's weird. It's like but I mean, if you have like a reactionary response to that, you can kinda say that that's like the downfall of it. Once you open it up to a commercial audience, you immediately lose you had. Just like the '80s bands, the hair bands that it's not just the guys that look like women, the audience is probably majority women. The men are probably being replaced in their own genre. The real great replacement is all the 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 blonde women at the front of the stage choreographed, manipulating people's perception of, like, who's the key demographic in this genre. How about that, you know? Because back then, people would put flyers out if you wanna be in the Bon Jovi music video, if you wanna be in anybody could just show up, and so, makes you wonder who is really showing up. I remember Gio was asking, "If you go to a metalcore concert, what's the demographic?" I know if you go to, like, the dad rock, which is kind of a nasty pejorative. Look, we can just call it classic rock because some of it isn't just boomer. There's some timeless stuff there. But so, Guns N' Roses and Aerosmith, the legacy bands that have had their peak, obviously that's gonna cater towards the younger crowd. And if there are young people, it's their children, which is cheating. It's almost like you're forcing them to be there. But ideally, you want this to be a young thing. So if it is a young thing like metalcore, since that's closer to our generation, it was pandering to us. It's not even in sync with the '80s metal or the '90s metal. It's ours. It's 2000s. Millennials and Zoomers might be able to enjoy some of that together. Maybe that's the equalizer is metalcore. But okay, you got millennials and Zoomers at the show. Since some of it is kinda angsty and overdramatic, emotional, do you get some of the same girls that would go to, like, a pop concert having that same type of vibe at the show? Because like, a friend of mine, he's into bands like Men I Trust, a lot of the Joy Division-inspired bands, and Susie and the Banshees too. I hear a lot of that as influences, and, it's mellow. It's a mellow. It's not really set for a specific mood. It's kind of, it's all over the place. It's kind of like a what would you say? What will be the appropriate word? You can just always play it. You can always depend on it, whereas something like metalcore is very specific. People reserve that for working out, certain moods. So some of those, like, dream pop bands can easily, uh, gravitate towards both genders because it's not so as a matter of fact. But with the metalcore, since it's metal, probably not gonna, attract many, a wide range as we'd like. It might not be the great equalizer of the gens, as I would like to think. Yeah, I grew to like Avenged Sevenfold. Yeah, that's the thing. Avenged Sevenfold is just like, it really is so much in tune with Iron Maiden and a lot of the predecessors from, the '80s. And that's kinda what you want. You want a synthesis where it's mixing the old with the new without watering it down. People make fun of that "Hail to the King" song because it's like a rip-off of a Metallica song. I forget how it goes, but, hey, you kinda want stuff like that. There's a Body Count song that sounds a lot like a Riot riff. Riot has, there's that band and then there's Riot V, which is a bit obnoxious, but to have bands trying to, like, riff off of some classic stuff, there might be some merit to that. It's not the same Van Fleet where it's all derivative, it's all but anyways, MTV pulled some, oh, well, yeah, 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 that's kinda and that's unnecessary too, because Avenged Sevenfold, those guys can shred, so I don't understand all the, it's like with the Load album. I mean, you guys Metallica, you don't have to have an edgy album cover, you don't have to have artsy music videos, people know who you are, you're established, you would expect a band who was, doing that stuff to try and get noticed. But if you're already mainstream, like what are you doing? Do you really like doing that stuff? Because if so, then that's kind of a bad look. But anyways, Captain Steel, dude, what in the world, man? Thank you. As they lay dying has never put out a bad album. Is that right? Wow. We'll see about that. Well, I'll check that out then. Anybody listen to the Horse? Horse the band? No, no, not Sanderson Jenkins. Ace is Punk dead. Well, yeah. Yeah, it is. And it kind of allowed itself to be murdered. And then they like kind of reveled in that. I always think about Joan Jett giving who I forget who she was inducting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but Joan Jett, even though her solo albums are very glam, and then her Runaways albums are bluesy mixed with Susie Quattro, so it's not quite punk. She's kind of an anomaly, but the fact that you had her validating Green Day, to me, that's like somebody who was there during the peak of punk, American punk specifically, and then you have well, I mean, I guess Green Day is technically Canadian, right? But anyways, I mean, they had an influence over American culture, American youth, Zoomers. So, yeah, it's dead because they kind of allowed their own genre to be subverted, and they didn't have enough gatekeepers to prevent it. So that's kinda too bad. That was supposed to be the one thing that was supposed to be authentic, that was supposed to be a middle finger to progressive rock and AOR, and now they are establishment. I don't agree with, Jello Biafra, but he's got that song, "Those dumb punk kids will buy anything," and, it's because obviously he got kicked out of the Dead Kennedys, and he's writing a song talking about why he got kicked out of the band and how they're all sellouts, and they got some singer who doesn't know the words. And, like, that is more punk than or that song rather is more punk than Billy Joe Armstrong trying to mimic, Ramones riffs. Even if he is musically going in the similar direction, there is just something about, Rancid was not supposed to be the staple for the genre. When Henry Rollins has his melodic moments like "I Love You" on My War, that's not supposed to be what everybody does after that. Those are supposed to be exceptions. And, like, some even that good. Some of those Black Flag songs aren't even that good by punk standards. So, I just think a lot like, the next gen didn't understand. It's like Noam Chomsky. Uh, it's like when the New Left misinterpreted Noam Chomsky, and they think they're the disciples of this thinker, and he's up there on college tours talking down to them saying, "You got it all wrong. That's not what I meant in, manufacturing consent." They just kinda ran with the loose idea, the Cliff Notes version of his ideology. And that's what happened with punk, Agent Orange kinda has this accessible vocal sound, but, if everybody's trying to sing, if everybody's trying to be like a radio accessible singer, then we're not really doing the same thing. We're just falling into another trend. So, bit of a long-winded way to answer the question, but yeah. And by the way, just because like a genre allows itself to get subverted, that doesn't necessarily debunk the original genre. But if anybody wants to say, like, no, punk has a straight linear line throughout history. It's never taken an L. There needs to be a reform period. There needs to be a reform to get back to the basics because we're just letting people do whatever. We're letting Machine Gun Kelly gets to be punk. All these dream pop singers get to have a punk aesthetic. We don't even know what this is anymore. It's in Gucci stores. Just it. It's the one party state is punk rock. Suburbia, the Penelope Spheres movie is now that's our what is it? Idiocracy. that that's punkocracy. Having all your stuff shown in Times Square. It's a nice and pretty letters on the marquee. Wow. We've made it, fellow punk rockers. We've made it. All those stupid backyard parties, all those basement tours, all that was all just to get on an arena. That was all just to sell out Madison Square Garden. Yeah, that's what it was about, I'm sure. When Henry Rollins is talking about, "Let's not even release the album through, like, a major label. Let's just have it between the tape trading scene, and if you go to your friend's house and he has the new album, then you get to listen to it. If you don't, the first 100 copies sell out, and then we're done. Nobody gets the album after that." But no, let's find a record label that will sign all the bands, and, we can overproduce the albums and do some, vocal remixes to make everybody sound a bit better. Yeah, that's rock and roll, using technology to just totally mutilate what people sound like. So yeah, punk is dead. So punk is not alive. It is a bit obnoxious to hear that quote. Punk's not dead. It's just passed out on the floor. Nah. It's not even that. It's just straight up murdered by kind of killed by its own people in a way. And they pay for the pleasure. Hey, Captain Steel, thank dude. What are you doing, man? Keep save it, man. Save it, Mike. This is, but thank you, Captain Steel. My cousin dated a guy. What? Oh, okay. I misread that for a second. My cousin dated a guy who was in a punk band back in the early '90s. He played shows with Early Green. Oh, is that right? Yeah, I've always been curious to hear about early Alice in Chains, which was Alice N Chains. They were a hair metal band, and Lane Stanley had uh, the Axl Rose frizzy hair, Aquanet look. Bygone era, man, bygone. Well, when do Zoomers get to have their glam moment? When do they get to have their embarrassing? Oh my gosh, you guys wouldn't understand that was TikTok. That was back when Yik Yak was popping off. We don't get to have our like David Bowie moments. Maybe it's because we were raised online, so we were just always afraid that stuff was out there. But then again, like we said earlier, that we still have Tumblr girls. So it's not like people are totally prudish. Yeah. But anyways, what even is this? The show is just the show is just loose thoughts. But hey, I like that. I like not having hard and fast script. Speaking of, The link is, but yeah, hey, shout out to Barack Obama for, getting me back into getting me back into, excuse me, I'm a bit distracted, as you can see. Getting me back into a Need Williams. Now, sometimes that's the thing, punk, don't overthink it, don't overthink the format, it's Chuck Berry riffs with your friends, it's not about anything else. A jam session is punk, you know? Having everything ready to go during the show, that's what everybody else is doing. Good evening. Hey, Pure Palm, good evening, Ace, good evening to y'all. Fine folks. Happiness to all. Hey, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Night, fellas. Hey, good night, Joshua Ham. Take it easy. Take it easy. We're gonna have a whole show without that happening. Gotta go over Nixon here. Don't mean to be rude. Record deepness, my goodness. Classical, East and West, and jazz. Hey, speaking of. Yeah, jazz is something that I'm trying to get a read on to frame it properly. No, Green Glass. Well, no, it's you're cool, man. I just want you guys to save your money because we're just hanging out here. We're just vibing. Captain Steel, thank you again, man. This is more than enough. Thoughts on Rise Against? I never really got into them. Sorry, you can just ask in chat because I feel like that's not a good enough answer for the super chat. But yeah, Rise Against, I don't know. Not one of those ones I gravitated towards. That's the thing, like with punk bands, Agent Steel, they just got their niche. It's surf rock that just works. And a lot of the West Coast bands, it's a lot of it is I think overthinking it a little too much. Like Black Flag wanting to do a doom metal album. It's I don't know, it comes across as very try hard. Yeah, record deepness, tell me about it. Yeah, yeah. Well, if you guys were in the Twitter space, if you guys aren't on Twitter, I'd encourage you to, because we had a bit of a dialogue with who gets credit for rock and jazz and blues. And I don't know. The thing about the South is it can be like a broad label. And so if you want to credit rock and roll and blues to Southern culture, I think that's appropriate. But the fact that you had Southern black musicians who were benefiting off of the scales and the history that Europeans did with the guitar, it kind of puts it in a different perspective. The idea that we kind of need Southern blacks to kind of teach us how to play the blues. Obviously, it's part of the blues history because you have no shortage of black blues musicians, but bass guitarist and uh, Chris and Floral Park was actually giving me some pushback, which was just helping me put everything into perspective because I know everybody thinks about blues, they think about the down and out black struggle, but I mean honestly, you know, I think they have like a certain disposition. They kind of have a certain vibe when they're playing blues, but I mean, we got no shortage of people like, Eric Clapton and anybody can play the blues. That's like what BB King said. A lot of these songs are in the open domain. I mean, I don't think that's exactly what he meant actually, but He was referring to Elvis, a lot of the Elvis songs. People have such scrutiny when bands like Led Zeppelin, Elvis, whenever a white guy plays a blues song, that everybody wants to get into the nitty-gritty of where exactly did you find that from. But if Muddy Waters or John Lee Hooker puts out a song, people are like, "Well, he probably came up with it," and we don't even investigate it too harshly. So, kinda makes you think, who really created blues, who created jazz? Jazz is kind of a subversive genre, because I think that one was used specifically for propaganda purposes, and so there's kind of a complicated history there. My thing against jazz is just you have to mix it with other genres. If you're just listening to the bare bones early 20th century jazz, you're not gonna really have enough flexibility into the 21st century. You're kinda keeping yourself in this confined space and expecting everybody to go along with it. But the thing that I like about rock is it's a synthesis of genres. It's blues and, it's I mean, to think about, like, in British terms, R&B, rhythm and blues, you want a combination when you're listening to music and, jazz as this vague, you know, thing that you're into. I You kinda need a little more than that. There's a reason why, like, the African music isn't, something probably most people would go and check out. Like, I know in the this is really gonna kind of a personal preference, but, like, the Metal Slug 3 soundtrack, there's, I think what is it called? Heavy African? Or it's called, like, African music, but anyways, one of the first missions, you get, African drums combined with a metal riff, and so there you have a combination. It can kinda sound more appealing compared to if you just had the bare bones. That's how I view jazz. Jazz is something that comes to big band too. Big band I guess big band and jazz can kinda go together interchangeably because that's kinda like the original progressive music, or I guess classical music is the original, but anyways, see, this is the problem. This is the problem when we're just going off the top of the head. It's not very in-depth analysis of all this music. It's not like it was in the Twitter space when we were all helping each other out. But anyways, I feel like people vaguely understand what I'm putting down. I'm not trying to wage war against all jazz. It's kind of like Jack Burden talking about anime. He says anime is objectively terrible with a few exceptions, and then he lists the ones that he likes. That's kind of what you have to have for certain genres that may be lacking. And if we're going to address the boomer truth regime, we're going to have to address the pop culture figures that people basically have an idolatry fixation on. Because I mean, until we get new pop culture figures, we're going to have to wrestle with these people from the past. Captain Steel, what are you doing? This is the big money wagey of the show. Thank you, man. Comparing jazz to well, I just mean I rhetorically speaking, like I don't want to condemn all jazz because, jazz is a too broad of a topic to really wage war against. But there is a certain a problem with the JQ, with the jazz question. Captain Steel with 9.99. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. Big guy, did you ever get oh, dude, I forgot about yeah, sorry about that. No, no. Now I gotta check that out. Thank you, though. Thank you for reminding me. Who was AA wrestling with on Twitter? I think that was Paul Fahrenheit. Paul Fahrenheit, he is, very persistent that White people invented the blues, they invented the scales, and so and that goes for jazz too. Jazz has a history in Europe, and AA was saying, "What are you talking about?" They were singing the slaves were singing blues songs and gospel songs on the chain gang in the churches and when they were picking cotton. It's let's give them that. We got evidence of all these black musicians. Of course I do that. And Paul is saying, well, that's kind of starting in the middle of the story. You kind of have a musical history that the blues musicians are reliant on. So whose genre really is it? We can say that certainly there were talented blues musicians that were Southern blacks, but I mean, whose genre does it belong to? But I think that's who you're talking about. And so now Academic Agent is sharing videos of Lizzo with her ass out to try and prove that blacks do have culture and the culture is twerking. And Paul Fahrenheit was kind of saying, if we're going to go down this route to where, or AA was saying, if we're going to go down this route where blues isn't black, then what about rap? Are we going to at least give rap credit to them? Because I mean, obviously it's. But then you have that famous statistic where the majority of people in the '90s that were listening to rap were suburban whites, and so that was like a big gotcha. Rap is taking over America, and we kind of have never really gotten past that since. But you can kind of interpret it in the other way where, well, if people are really receptive to this music, maybe it's their music. You know what I mean? Because like rock is certainly something people associate with white people. And obviously, you had Little Richard and all these Sister Rosetta Tharpe. But I mean, who is rock and roll? It's Elvis. Who is the graphic that really carries that legacy? Who's writing the rock historian books? The Martin Popoffs of the world, Greg Renoffs. And then Paul made a very good point about, I think it might have been Paul, might have been somebody else who said, if we go down the Bob Dylan route, Bob Dylan is inspired by Woody Guthrie, inspired by country. Country obviously is white. And so if we're going to trace rock from country, which was also another influence for Elvis and rock and roll generally, we don't really have to touch the blues conventionally. We can kind of work around it and say that we didn't really need blues and so we can kind of give even more credit to the country, rock, all the genres that we associate with certain groups. I mean, it's all descendants of European labor. So it kind of puts things in a bit of a contrarian perspective, but I mean, I don't really have a good argument against that. It really is kind of now obviously blues is it's not something I would totally disregard. And even like metal was kind of forged out of blues. So, for me, for like my genre specifically, I can't really like do that workaround. But if you wanted to talk about rock, if you wanted to talk about isolated cases, you might be able to have an argument there. He said to claim Dylan is heavily influenced by Hank Williams, which is oh, okay, okay. And yeah, that's subject to change. Yeah, that's what I meant to say earlier. It was a bit all over the place, not very organized, but when you talk about the South, that is so vague because we kind of look at it as a hodgepodge of cultures. So something to think about. Ace, what are your other interests besides music and political philosophy? Yikes. Kind of putting me on the spot. I don't know that kind of is. I mean, people really only do a handful of things every day, so yeah, the meat, the movie, the writing stuff that you guys are well aware of. I mean, that takes up a lot of my time, a lot of my thinking. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, like, I used to be a gamer. I used to be able to call myself that, but it's just not accurate. I never do it. But but yeah, no, the political philosophy thing, that's something that probably would have weirded my younger self out. Because I used to think politics was like a rich man's game. I thought you had to go to an Ivy League school to understand politics. It's like that scene in Giant where the actress goes up to a bunch of guys huddled over and she's like, "What are you guys talking about?" She's like, "Oh, you wouldn't be interested in this. We're just talking politics." That's kind of how I felt politics was. It was something that you had to study like a doctor. But really it's, something that is easily, and especially in the post-Trump era where it's basically like infotainment, politics is like it's comic books, it's GameStop, it's just an industry. Can easily get involved. It's very nice to see Charlemagne in the chat. Bring Oh, man. It's not really what I expected. Not really what I expected. Listen, let's let's not get ahead of ourselves. This is a family show, and the last thing I'd wanna indulge in is in this vulgar Hustler magazine-esque. I know we talk about, magazines, but listen, man, let's separate the cream from the see, I can't use that analogy. No, no, no! Terrible, terrible. The show's over. It's over. The wheat from the chaff. Okay, that's a better one. It's a cleaner. Brutal, brutal, man. Oh, did I freeze up for a bit? Sorry about that. Do we wanna talk? That is so funny. Yeah, I don't know. I never really had, like, a comic book phase. I never had it was just it was like as far as, like, stuff from the past, I was thinking about, like, comparing my old self, my alter ego. What's really changed? It's actually kind of interesting. Back then I was really no, you're no, Charlemagne, please stay, please stay. I love you, man. Love you, man. Um, it's funny. I used to try to radicalize people by introducing them to more unconventional music. And I would start with something mainstream and then I would work them through a pipeline. I would get them through a gateway into something more extreme. And now I do the exact same thing with politics. It's so really not much has really changed. It's just the vehicle. That is kind of interesting. And also the kind of autistic tracing. Like Charlemagne, hey, since you're here, I've spent the past 2 days basically going back to some of your videos and going through the bio-Leninism. I'm gonna try and pitch that to the class, not or I guess not class, but our university. We got a little presentation gig, and you've been a big part of it. To tell you the truth, you've been helping us out. So we're gonna try and give a presentation on bio-Leninism and pop culture, kind of taking the way that politics is structured, but then trying to apply that just like what we do with the show, apply the Jonathan Bowden to the pop culture sphere rather than history, revisionism, and historical events. I mean, I would still qualify them as historical events, I mean. I man, it's too bad. We had a good moment talking about Avril Lavigne emerging through the 9/11 smoke with her 2002 album, but, I don't think that got on camera. So, maybe we'll have to repeat that one for the next meeting. But yeah, yeah, I the it's funny, a lot of the mold bug stuff, a lot of the spandrel essays or blog posts. I mean, you could easily Thomas gave me the Paul Godfrey book, the fascism history book, and when he's talking about Marcoux and he's talking about, all the people that came from the Frankfurt School and so on, this is, the way that we look at ideology is based on the authoritarian personality, the F scale. I mean, that obviously is not restricted to politics. That's exactly how we look at all the pop culture stuff that we don't like. I remember Charlemagne was asking about what's the deal with country music? Is that part of like a hate campaign and that's why people like me don't really like it? What is this sound that sounds so foreign even though it's from, our fellow Americans? Somebody from the US event, the recent one, was catch me up to speed with how country became pop. It was basically infiltrated. You had 2 genres. You had one genre basically subvert the other, and, that's how I always felt about metal. I always felt like it got infiltrated, but I didn't really have the vocabulary to understand what was going on. But I think people intuitively see, there's something kinda off about all this pop culture stuff. Some of the more obvious manifestations is like Lizzo. I don't wanna be on the stage talking about Justin Bieber and Britney Spears. Maybe Britney Spears because that can kinda tie into something. But there is something there. There's something there. But, I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready watching Charlemagne videos, the lineage of liberalism, and that stuff really does help. That stuff should be in, like, college classes 'cause, the way that Barack Obama talks about, um, Nigel Carlsbad, that's kinda how I feel with all these, resources. It's easy pickings. Achilles dude, those old videos did hold up. Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's the other thing too is they're not it's like 2020. You guys are cranking these out, and I'm over 2020, I'm still trying to figure out Sam Huntington. I'm still trying to make my way through a Pat Buchanan book, and, you guys are already in on the neo-reactionary. You guys were, you guys got early access. You a Chrome fan, Ace? Google Chrome? I'm not sure. Captain Steel with 9.99, dude. Come on, man. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. Achilles' Last Stand is the best Zeppelin song ever created. I feel like I don't know. I'm kind of a contrarian with my favorite Led Zeppelin songs. You guys are gonna call me gay for my favorite songs. It's all the lovey-dovey stuff. But I mean it's bluesy, so it shouldn't be that embarrassing. I like "Since I've Been Loving You" from Led Zeppelin 3, a big standout, and that solo, that's one of my favorite Jimmy Page solos besides, like, Dazed and Confused. But, hey, Dazed and Confused, that's in my top 5, so there you go. There's a masculine pick there. But I really like Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. That's one of my favorite ones off that besides Dazed and Confused off the debut. But, I don't know, I like the mellow stuff. Like, hey, on Metallica, Ride the Lightning, my favorite song is Call of Cthulhu. I'm sorry, it just but I mean, that's basically classical music, so that shouldn't be too controversial. But I like when a metal band can write, like, an authentically good ballad, that's, like, verification that we're not just a bunch of meatheads. You know, we got that groove. What are some of your favorite childhood video games? Well, that's also, it's the usual stuff. It's San Andreas, it's GTA 4, Fallout 3, and then the Call of Duties, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops. I didn't really have oh, I guess Dead Rising. Dead Rising was a big gateway, and, a part of me thinks Dead Rising kinda red pilled me because it's literally about a journalist who's trying to uncover this, uh this government cover up with the zombie outbreak, and you have, like, a foreign you're the antagonist is, like, a foreigner who blames America for imperialism in his country, and there's one ending where your character is like, the news never gets out and the whole world is, like, living in ignorance. So, I mean, just totally just right up my alley from the get-go in this conspiracy. There's even, like 9/11 conspiracy stuff in the recent Frank West Dead Rising game. What is that, 4 or 5? I think it's 4, but yeah, Dead Rising was big. Dead Rising, I remember watching Next Gen Gaming. Next Gen Gaming would they had a guy in there, and also Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 4. I remember Charlemagne shared on his Telegram a thread that is now deleted. I should have screenshotted it. I don't know if I did, but it was Thomas talking about Resident Evil 4, and it's like to me that game is just part of my childhood, but for Thomas, he's like, "Oh yeah, that's the HP Lovecraft inspired cult game." I forget the word. I get it's I'm sure he remembers, but it was just so Thomas the way that you would never describe a game like that in those terms, but it was so accurate. Achilles' Last Stand. No, hey, you don't have to send $5. No, 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 I like Achilles' Last Stand. I also like the unofficial sequel by Van Halen, Girl Gone Bad. There's, you should listen to that. I love the nod to Achilles' Last Stand. But that is an awesome song, very epic, build up. Yeah, that's right. Thomas was, he said he played Vice City. What else? He said he played it sounded like he's played, like, the early Rockstar games, so I think that's the trilogy. It's GTA 3, San Andreas, but, I mean, I think the main one I know for sure he played was Vice City, and then what was the other I thought there was another one, but he seemed in tune with Resident Evil, so he probably played those earlier ones. Oh, Killzone was the game. He likes Killzone, which I never really got into. That was a PlayStation exclusive, so that means Thomas had a PlayStation? Thomas is endorsing PlayStation? Cthulhu always swims left. Oh, yes. Call of Cthulhu. Crazy Taxi? Oh, man, I forgot about that one. Mauser in Resident Evil 4, yeah, the Mauser. You would get the upgrade so that you could aim better. 'Cause it looked too big. It looked too like the gun just would pop out on your screen, there wasn't enough room with the default handgun, that looked normal. With what is it, the Blackwing? What's the Blacktail? Blacktail? That one looked normal, and the Mauser was a little too big. Yeah, I never owned a Dreamcast either. Full playthroughs. Oh, dude. Man, dude, I would love to watch. I would be so that would take me back. You gotta set up, like, a private playlist for that, man. That's, Resident Evil 4 is just so kino, though. All those levels. I was rewatching some Sam Hyde and, what is it? The Prodigal Father? What is it? The Prodigal Son, where, Sam is a rapper. He's coming back home to Nick and Charles, and you just got Charles playing Resident Evil 4 in the background, and then when they go to Sam's room, he's also got a Resident Evil 4 poster in his room. The whole thing just looks like a commercial, but anyways, Resident Evil, man, that's just the castle. You got Vertigo behind Salazar. Or not Salazar, was that the little guy? Salvador was the main guy. Salazar was the castle. What is it? Who was the guy who was blind and he had the knives? Sorry, don't but, yo, it's not private. Oh, are you serious? Yo, pause? Oh, hold on, I can't even can I even copy this? Let me go on the Charlemagne, look at my search history is so this out. Tariq Nasheed, E. Michael Jones, Flotsam and Jetsam, and Classical Theist. That's quite a lineup. Um, so anyways, what am I doing here? Is it in a playlist? Oh, you're right. My goodness. Oh, that's amazing. That is amazing. Oh, the big cheese, the big cheese. Ah, dude, now I gotta rewatch Resident Evil cutscenes. You ever watch, like, a walkthrough, but it's just the movie? Yo, Captain Crunch check? Man, this is why don't we bomb these terrorists? No, I love Memory Lane, man, Memory Lane. The virtual reality. Yeah, yeah, I'm interested because that's coming out soon, right? They're hyping it up. Because I didn't play the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes, I didn't play those, PS4, but, no, it's that would be interesting. Because if they're gonna be true to the original, then the Valve Index, yeah, no, that looks so cool. The Spanish are just terrorists in the game, why don't they just Yeah, that's funny. Does everybody remember the Resident Evil 5 controversy where people said because it was set in Africa, it was a racist premise? And then the counter arguments, this is like the normie con, boomer con response. You know, you were killing Spaniards in Resident Evil 4 and nobody cared. Why does everybody get so agitated about Africans? And it's like you're kinda revealing the things you're not supposed to talk about in this Polygon, in this Kotaku, you know, post Gamergate discussion. Because was Resident Evil 5, was that after Gamergate? Yeah, check out Charlemagne's, walkthroughs. That's, real millennial hours. That was I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Resident Evil 5 was 2009, of course, of course. They were trying to get rid of Leon. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I remember in one of those Resident Evil movies, they're very, just dismissive of that character, and maybe it's just because people can't pull it off when those scary monsters appear at the end of the game. Wait, which area is that? Hold on. No, I mean, it's I don't have much against these remakes since they're doing so well, and especially since just like the '50s monster movies, those early Resident Evil games are so, clunky and old that a remake would just make it almost better by default. But but I am curious because I feel like I have a lot of the map laid out where all the hidden herbs, the hidden talking about the green herbs, of course, the red herbs. There was like one spot that was glitched where you could just buy what is it, pesos, 200 pesos. Do you remember the mine? You went underground after the castle. You went in the mine and you would have to like ride around and ganados would jump into your cart and you'd have to fight them off. There was like a chainsaw guy that would because the chainsaws could be instant death. And so you would have to be aware of that when you're going after all these ganados. Man, Claire or Jill. Um, man, that's because I never played those Resident Evils, so you're Jill pilled? I don't know. Claire, that's Chris's sister, right? Claire Redfield. Yeah, I don't know. I was confused about who is the character in the Resident Evil movies. I was always kind of uninterested because they didn't really use the didn't they wait till like the second movie to introduce Jill and some others? But I don't know, I guess Jill. I always liked the Jill aesthetic. I always liked the little blue beret. So maybe that's just a preference thing. Jill Valentine. That's such a cool name, Jill Valentine. Jill in the mansion with Barry, finding out that Albert Wesker is the puppet master. What? Who is Jill? Claire? These are Resident Evil characters. Claire, I think, was in Code Veronica, if I remember right. Actually, that doesn't sound right. No, Claire was Leon's. She finds Leon in Resident Evil 2. That's kind of like a wholesome dynamic. That's like the cool duo, and then you have this like femme fatale thing with Ada. But I didn't play. Yeah, me too, Charlemagne. I got in Resident Evil 4 onward up till 6, and everything else looked like movies. The Resident Evil remake, the remake of the first one, because the first one was so old fashioned. Nah, the betrayal, Wesker was one of the stars, and then he betrays the group. You know what's funny? In Resident Evil 5, they try to make Albert Wesker, like, more white because it's in Africa, and he's, like, colonizing Africa and the world with Ouroboros. They make his hair, like, so blonde, very distracting blonde aesthetic. He's literally like the Aryan antagonist in the plot. 'Cause in the original Resident Evil, Albert Wesker was just like a he was just like a business cut, military cut or whatever, and his hair didn't seem that bright. I think later on, they kind of changed it, but I think you can kinda see an angle, a political angle with Resident Evil 5. Yeah, the Resident Evil 1, that was, that just kinda seems like a timeless format. I'm kind of Oh, I'm sorry, Captain Steel, you don't have to send multiple No, I saw you. We were gonna get to that, I don't watch Cobra Kai. Like, I saw, like, the 1st season. I like that there's hair metal in it. I like that the main character is, like, your average boomer. He's, like, racist and, doesn't really wanna put up with this, like, immigrant kid trying to have his hero's journey. So I think it's kind of a clever premise for the show. I liked that 1st episode is a pretty cool 1st episode, but, I don't know, I just didn't really care to follow along. Wasn't there, like, a musical segment in the 2nd season? I don't know. I'm told it's good. It's whatever. I need to rewatch Twin Peaks. That's what I gotta do. It's autumn season. It's autumn. The Netflix Resident Evil. Oh, yeah, I heard they canceled that. Yeah, I heard they made it about Corona or something. Yeah, I was seeing people share the memes. I'm just like, "Man, we can't have anything. We just can't have anything." Once you realize Albert and Chris are copies of Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer. Oh, is that right? I'm gonna have to think about that. It's a bit of they are, like, fighting for who's the top dog. They're the 2, like, alpha males in the Yeah, that is true. They're, like, kind of they were on the same team, but now it's, like, this rivalry. It's a bit less friendly by the time it gets to Resident Evil 5. We was Umbrella. Yeah, the World Economic Forum is umbrella corporations. That's pretty funny. They turned Resident Evil into a team drama. That kinda sounds cool in a way. You're making it sound pretty cool. We're gonna get Heathers, we're gonna get, Clueless with Resident Evil characters. I always liked the Albert Wesker aesthetic. In Resident Evil 4, he was sitting in the Robert Barnes chair. He was, like, the mastermind. He was never in the game. He was just always, like, on a computer screen. And then in Resident Evil 1 Remake, he had, he was, like, the scientist that figured out he was, like, the reanimator doctor. What's his name? Who's the You guys have seen Reanimator. Someone in here probably has. What's that guy's name? Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's Doctor what is it? Doctor West, Herbert West. I mean, he wasn't like a crazy doctor, Albert Wesker, but he, like, figured out what was going on. Those skateboard games helped keep Yeah, that's I gotta keep that in mind. Yeah, the Tony Hawk games had soundtracks, and Guitar Hero. I remember Slash was talking about, yeah, they wanted to, like, put our song in a video game, and that's, like, where all the young kids are, so and Guitar Hero just seems like such a natural part of Gen Z, so you can never totally remove that. it's not like we're just talking about our dad's music. We kinda found a spot for it to be a part of our lives too. The vampire movie with Kilmer. I don't think Kilmer was in that. You're thinking of, Christian Slater and Brad Pitt. You didn't like how the zombies weren't so well, I mean, yeah, it's like, yeah, it's Las Plagas. I don't know, that kinda works. I liked in the castle when you had the cult leaders, the Plagas would change. It would go from, like, a fish with, like, a blade to cut you. It went from that to, in the castle, you would get this big, like, fish monster that could eat your head off, and then it went into, the spider Las Plagas. This is gonna sound so schizophrenic, but you know what I'm talking about? I don't know, I mean, it's basically a zombie. Do we get the different, yeah, check this out. Yo, Edward the Pale. I just like actual undead zombies. No, that's fair, that's fair. Herbert West, yeah, thank you, Media Hits. I'm having a boomer moment. So you would get so this is like oh, the regenerators, my goodness. Yeah, who could forget the regenerators? Ah, come on. This is like the final stage of, the different kind of monsters you could get. Why isn't, yeah, there we go. Is that gonna be a decent one? Yeah, it would change throughout each, and then you would get this one. This one could, like, instantly kill you, and then you'd get the spider one. Yeah, here we go. Sorry, it's, I don't know, there is something interesting about making it a cult, making it like you had a bunch of regular Spaniards and then, uh, Salazar was basically like, will to power. He just takes over, and now you have all these minions. And it's also kinda a diversion from, like, the Umbrella Corporation story. It's almost kinda like an offshoot. Oh, yeah, someone was telling me to watch Equilibrium, but I appreciate it. Yo, Oblivion in check. Yo, is Chief Trumpster in here? Yo, let's go, Chief Trumpster. We're so back. Shout out to Chief Trumpster. I saw you in the Wendell chat. Wait, is that what you were talking about? Oh, Salazar is Captain Crunch. What does that mean? What? Oh, that's right, Christian Slater. Christian Slater was in, yeah, he's reading he's interviewing the vampire. No, you can't go wrong. Did you ever see, Murder in the First? Kevin Bacon and, Christian Slater? It's an underrated one. I still gotta see Gleaming what is it? The skateboard one, Gleaming the Cube. I gotta do Thomas's one. My goodness, you guys oversupplying. Tales from the, what is it? Tales from the Underworld or something. I gotta catch up, gotta catch up. He looks like Captain Crunch. Hold on, let's I'm at a loss for words here. Oh, wait a second, I think yo, Chief Trumpster. No, I've been chilling. Sorry, I gotta get into one of those meetings. I've been, sidetracked. But no, we're chilling, man. We're chilling. We're going down memory lane here, trying to find out if Salazar looks like Captain Crunch. Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking of, the other guy. No, you're right. I was thinking of, what is it? Salvador or Sadler. Excuse me. I'm all messed up. All right, we're gonna do it. Oh man. Can we here? Oh, whoops. What did I just do? We'll fix this. Yeah, you got the blue outfit. Oh, okay, there we go. That's a good one. Okay. Complicated business. Oh, it's not gonna work because it's not full screen. Let me full screen it. Okay, so there we go, and there we go. Now this is Hegelian. This is Resident Evil. That's true. That is true. Even the little buttons, we got a little. Never would have guessed that. Never would have. Because these characters are all very distinct, but that's funny. We're so back. I'm thinking we're back. Where are we at? Yeah, sorry. That was a boomer moment. Excuse me on that. The substitute. Hey, that sounds familiar. Oh, wait a second. Did someone recommend this before? Tom Berenger. And isn't there like this is a series or there's sequels, probably unnecessary. Oh, thank you. We're so back. 96. Okay. I have 4 at the moment with TV monitor. Yeah, I need to yeah, no, it's all one man show. One laptop operation. Just like Ryan Turnipseed. Yeah, maybe we got to get the Dalton set up. We got to upgrade the studio. We'll see what happens. Need to get a monitor. Yeah, maybe that's. I got to get the tips from Chief because. But yeah, that's from humble beginnings. Scott Adkins movies. Thank you guys. Thank you. Did I miss anybody's upgrade to some Reese's Cups? I'd love to. I'd love to. King size. Fit for a king. Alright, I wanna make sure nobody got robbed here, 'cause we're not like Britney, okay? We're not politically provoked. We give the people what they want over here. And to clarify, I do like Achilles' Last Stand. Thank you, Captain Steel. If you're still here, that's more than enough. That was, not what I expected. Thank you, though. I'm grateful to have you here. What's Charlemagne's favorite cheese? It's very important. Cheese sampling. Yo, thank you, George Puente for the, oh, I guess I should've Mr. Ace, ever played paintball? Don't think so. Yeah, no, maybe when I start working out, that'll be my new obsession. Oh, Captain Steel, 199. Thank you, man. There's some awesome stuff from '69 on that DVD. Yeah, I'll check it out. Thank you, man. And Marshall Forward, if you're still here, sorry to take so long to read this. Thank you for 199. Have you read AA's new book yet? No, I haven't. I'm thankful to Pete Quinones for having a series available online to make it a bit easier for us. Did you know that Jared Taylor's on Politically Provoked? Yeah, yeah, no, I tuned in a little bit, but it was kind of the usual greatest hits material. Jared Taylor compilation album. Yo, Marshall Ford with I don't know. I guess I missed these. Sorry about that. Thank you, Marshall Ford. Only glam band I can tolerate is Wasp. Well, there you go. Wasp, the man. Yeah, the Crimson Idol. The Crimson Idol is that's such a someone needs to like put that into writing, the concept behind that, exposing the music industry. Because apparently and, you know, credit to Razorfist for, putting together that retrospective, but yeah, you know, Blackie Lawless, I guess, was getting attention from fans saying, you know, they wanna be musicians like him, and then he creates this concept album where a rock star's life just gets destroyed and gets corrupted by the music industry, and it's, Charlie Chainsaw, that's what I was calling Charlemagne, Charlie Chainsaw, or Chainsaw Charlie, excuse me. That's got a song on there that I think is a good introduction to people getting into metal. What is it? Enter the Arena. I love that song. Or what? Arena of Pleasure. Excuse me. That's like him. He's starting his journey. He's gonna become a musician, and it's you know, a Scorsese tale, like most of them. Didn't the drummer from Dream Theater? It's kind of an interesting drummer from Dream Theater. Join Avenged Sevenfold. Yeah, yeah, that's right. He filled in. He filled in. That was pretty interesting. Unlikely collaboration. Whoa, media hits. You had a Dream Theater's cool. I like Dream Theater. The first album, that album cover is very homosexual, but um that latest album, I dig it. Do you listen to Finn McT? I don't know who that is. Finn McKenty? Oh, that's the punk rock MBA. I didn't know that was his name. Yeah, yeah. No, I that guy helped me out make sense of the emo scene. I think that's a pretty, mostly helpful video. I know he's kind of a punching bag in the metal scene. He comes across as like a Ricky Rackman type, this, kinda know-it-all. How did you get into Hegel? I'd like to say mutant. Hey, mutant, you've really, gotten me to stick with that topic, but, yeah, well, I'm majoring in philosophy, so, invariably, one of our favorite, Prussians comes to mind, or I guess German, technically. Why didn't you read my second super chat? Am I posting it too much for you? Well, what is it? What's, media hits? Let's No, I do kinda want the, Sam Hyde beating women video set up where you can just kinda point to different areas, and that is kinda Kino, I do gotta admit. Alright. Alright. We'll wrap up soon here, if anybody's got any final requests. But media hits, what was your question, man? The jazz singer with Neil Diamond, the jazz singer, isn't that the Al Jorgensen? Or I'm sorry, Al Johnson? Neil Diamond, is that a remake? Journeying Hollywood Back to Brooklyn. Interesting. Yeah, Sam Hyde. Sam Hyde beating the cancel culture, literally getting back into the ring and winning. Yeah, no, it's putting everything into perspective. Just the guy is a force of nature. Even after everything they did to him, he still persists. It really is. It's a real hero's journey. Back into the public eye. He's loved. He's no, but there's no like hijacking during his moments. There's no journos trying to, hey, remember this is the guy who said all this stuff, and the goer to bed, yeah, subject to change. I'm feeling that. What's funny is I was going to make this a homework stream. I got a homework due in about an hour and a half. We'll get there. We'll get to it quickly. It's not too much, but it's just one of those things where the impulse to be lazy has to be overcome. First to become blacklisted? Well, what was that, 2016? I don't know. I mean, in a way. Sam Hyde should be the default Gen Z humor, go-to comedian, go-to delivery. When people talk about Zoomers have this way about them, the way they act on TikTok, the way they interact with people, what it should be is just Sam Hyde, mogging that whole personality. Yeah, we love Sam. We love Sammy boy. The lazy Sue. Anyways, took back from the jazz discussion, just saying the expand beyond the usual boomer stuff. Was that a super chat here? I don't wanna rob you. LaCroix is also a product of the '80s. Is it? Does it go back that far? Why are MMO gamers mostly leftists? I think there's a Roger Scruton video talking about why are academics leftists. It's probably the same answer. It's the same space that's being occupied. Let me see here. Oh, Green Glassful. Sorry, I just saw this. Thank you for $2. Anyone besides me thinks 0 HP is a blowhard. Well, I just think the voice is so obnoxious. I can barely understand him sometimes. I understand it's part of a bit. Okay. But like I need to how am I gonna hear what's going on? Oh, dude, there's like multiple super chats. I'm so sorry, guys. Green Glassful for $2. Thank you. I'm on the Gen X side, but came from the arts. Oh, that's what we need. There you go. Yo, American Populist. I don't know if you're still here. Hey man, congrats, man. Congrats. You're doing great work. You deserve it, man. Hey Steven, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Not me, not you. Did I miss it? Did he say it? Did he say it? No, no. We're keeping it clean. We're keeping it clean on the show. Oh, George Puente, Ozzy or Dio. I prefer the Ozzy solo stuff, to be honest. I know some people might probably wouldn't agree, but I do prefer Dio and Sabbath, but there's not as much of it as Ozzy material, so but I like that sound. I like that Dio and Sabbath sound. But as far as and then like Dio and Rainbow. So like Dio overall as a singer better, but Ozzy solo albums I would rather listen to. But they are kind of doing that interesting thing. Dio is kind of edging into the power metal, the early proto power metal aesthetic. We were talking about Virgin Steel that one night, and that is kind of where that sound comes from. Is the Rainbow. Rainbow probably mixed with the new wave of British heavy metal sound. That's where you get some of like the speed metal sounding stuff. Guardians of the Flame. But Ozzy, I mean Ozzy, that's such a to mix the mellow, you know, gothic sound with I'm not saying it's goth, but I mean to have this like gloomy metal tint that is kind of quintessential metal. So, does anyone remember those rubber bands that were everywhere in 2011? Probably. Not off the top of my head, but I think you're tapping into some memories. Is there a way I can just look at just the super chats so I don't miss them? But anyways, media hits. I hope I got your question answered. Are we just chatting music tonight? Yeah, I guess it's invariably that's what happens. Yeah, that's the thing. Jazz is kind of like cultural bio-Leninism, where it's just it unites all the old people. It unites all the older generations into clinging towards something. And if a young person tries to delegitimize it, that's all they have, you know? That's their hero. So, how about Anger Machine, Strange Highway? Yeah, Strange Highways is underrated. Strange Highways is probably a top 4 Dio album. Anger Machines, I don't know, that was a little too a friend tried to tell me it's the same thing as Strange Highway, same tone. I don't know, it just sounded a little too alternative. I'm probably thinking of the first song mostly, but that "This Is Your Life," you know, it's kind of an unexpected, song off that album from that era. But yeah, "This Is Your Life," that's pretty epic. Yo, is Jonathan Pollin here? Or oh, dude, Jonathan, you're this guy, my goodness. This guy giving me such a hard time. Little wise guy. Remember when Trump called told that said that about Brad Pitt? So why don't they make good movies anymore? There's no Sunset Boulevard. Yeah, Brad Pitt was saying something about me. I never really liked his movies, or I never really liked him, which is like, oh, come on, Trump. You're not team Brad Pitt. What's going on, man? Doesn't like Interview with a Vampire. Doesn't like the stoner character in True Romance. My big guy, you are the best Zoomer. Hey, thank you, Captain Steel. You've been just overwhelming tonight. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Like staying up till midnight on Sundays, waking a little later on Monday. This, I hear you, man. I hear you. 7 star. I was just listening to that earlier. I don't know if that was today or yesterday, but yeah, dude, Glenn Hughes. Glenn Hughes is probably our, rock metal, probably one of our best singers. Probably top 5. Definitely as far as range, I mean, he could do R&B. Like, the stuff he was doing in Deep Purple, he sounds black on Stormbringer. I mean, that guy is, he's just got that James Brown groove. People should give more credit. I should probably do a more thorough, get into trapeze, get into the '70s stuff, and because people treat metal like it's just this, bunch of hoodlums. We got real, like, cultural weight in the space. Like when, Robert Plant did his James Brown impersonation on, Houses of the Holy. What is it? The Crunge? I knew some guys who, like, didn't like that song, and so they they shoulda called it The Cringe. It's like, okay. But it is kind of charming to have British Robert Plant kind of affected by American, American what would you even call that? Like, funk? And then you kind of have that same thing on Physical Graffiti. You have Boogie with Stu, Black Country Woman. Sent it right before you went to the long jazz rant, so my comment must have gotten lost. I'm sorry. If you remember the question, media rants or media hits, I'll answer it. There's quite a bit there. Yo, dog moment. It's my favorite out. Yeah, 7 star. Hey, that's people should mimic that sound, mimic the Tony Martin sound. That's what the new wave of traditional heavy metal band should do. Instead of just kind of sticking to the the speed metal shtick. Even Megadeth did that on their newest album, Celibatante. But people should check out the other elements within that sound. But maybe it takes, people to point out that those other aspects exist. They probably just see it as proto Metallica. Anger Machines, 2 to 3 good songs, 3 to 5. Ah, you're gonna get me checking out what is going on? Gary Oldman played the dreadlocked pimp in Sure Romance. Oh, yeah, that's right, he did. Drexel. Whoa, subject to change. You're giving me the synopsis of the movie. I didn't know it was like that. My goodness. Ken Ken Burns told me blues was created by blacks, boomer truth regime. Yeah, it's looking that way. Okay, I'm in the blues part of the chat. Okay, there's some jazz. I just watched that Johnny Lang clip from Jay Leno, Funny Times. Media hits. I'm tracking down. Oh, is this it? Oh, I'm so sorry. Here it is. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Here we go. Hey, 10 bucks. Thank you. I'm sorry this was difficult for me. Excuse me. What do we got here? As I got older, like Dio over Ozzy, Sabbath. The jazz stuff is more it's more Sunars. It's, oh, okay, Sunars and Ethiopian jazz, Latin jazz. Not so much for the boomer stuff. Like, okay, all right. Yeah, the jazz. Oh, you're saying that's like separate from Ethiopian. Yeah. Well, it's because that's we're calling Cole Porter and Miles Davis. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm just not. I'm gonna have to do. I don't know. It just seems a little too complicated for it to be engineered by anybody other than the people who made classical music. Because I kind of see it as all the same scales. If anything, if people want to call out jazz in a different way, you could say that it kind of got watered down by you know, the Rat Pack types and the big band era. Since it became one-dimensional. Not a fan of Fifth Element. Not even ironically, except for noir soundtrack. See, that's my thing. It's funny, I defended jazz this year on Twitter. That tweet is probably still out there, but yeah, I liked yeah, you're right. That's the take. The noir soundtracks, the, dark jazz, you know, gloomy gloomy black pill jazz. All right. Well, I'm glad I didn't miss that one because media hits. I thank you, man. Thank you for the question. Travis Barker. Yeah, yeah. John Doyle. I think that's one of his favorites. He was giving props in Las Vegas about that. Record deepness, talking about Talking Heads kind of gets into the world music category. Yeah, the world music stuff can be pretty subversive. Geo, maybe we'll talk about that someday. But he was pointing out how when in the 90s when they were allowing that stuff. I've probably made that point a bunch of times, but one of the other ways that music was being subverted post 80s. All right, all right. There's also that Susie and the Banshees song, Cocoon, which is very jazzy. There's also it's weird, jazz kind of manifests itself in cool ways, which makes me want to like it. But Kim Wilde did that Love Blonde song. That was cool. And Susie Sue pulled it off. So like what's the deal? Like here, let me put those in chat so you guys don't think I'm just being obnoxious. Credit where credit is due. My thumbnail it shows it's the it shows the Salazar Captain Crunch moment. See, this is where's the other one? Oh, where is it? I guess I'll just look it up. Now we got some obscure film lore in here. It's overwhelming. All right. All right. We'll wind down. Thank you, Ever the Pale, for the super sticker. I should have promoted the Telegram when we had peak viewership. Yeah, you live and you learn. Was Marsha Ford. I appreciate. Yeah, don't worry. We're not going off the goop. Yeah, yeah, I hear you. I hear you, Brandon. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling Ugh. All right. It is tempting to do a sleep stream, but no, no worries. No worries, Jonathan Poole. You need to get over being bullied. What? Shucks. You gonna go back to Pete's show? It's up to Pete. I don't wanna invite myself on. Oh, okay, that's, catching up with the chat there. No, I can't do it, can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it, Edward. Think about the consequences. Alright. Hey, Themis Skulls, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for stopping by. A boomer pushed mainstream dads how many times? Many such cases. Alright. Alright. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, you're right, media hits. So, we'll be back. I will say this on Wednesday, might be back in a different style. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But might be back on Wednesday. And maybe not behind this desk, if you can imagine. So you'll just have to stay tuned in. Stay tuned to the Telegram. I did do a Thomas episode that'll be released on the Mind Phaser. And after that, I'm also trying to collab with Gabriel Spock. He's been doing the James Burnham Italian School of Elite Theory. He's been going through books, and the guy is the guy just gets it. The guy, it's very impressive. So I've been checking out his content consistently, and got to interview Jared Taylor. Got to interview E. Michael Jones. The guy's just a go getter, like Wendell says. Somebody never told this guy no. And so he's just out there doing his thing, and it's inspiring. So we'll probably collab. We'll probably talk about the managerialism within pop culture. Since he understands the theory, it's a lot easier to get into the modern versions of that. Some of the networks. We know about networks like Peter Thiel and Yoram Hazony, but what about like the music industry as a network? What about some of the famous stuff you hear about outside of politics? Kind of a little sample of what we might be doing on Wednesday. So stay tuned in. Won't have to wait too long. And thank you guys for a pretty mellow stream. I just feel like this show needs music. This show, did you hear that? This show just needs music. It needs and so maybe I need to go stream on a platform that allows that kind of a thing. The TOS on this site is just so so ball breaking. But I feel like that would bring some higher energy to get this thing kind of in I mean, I don't know. Do you guys really vibe with these, like, check this out. Is it playing? Not get audio? Oh, I think it can't play because it's, got the microphone set up. Anyways, the StreamYard music, does anybody really vibe with it? I'm not so sure. But that's the thing, that's the thing. But anyways, thank you guys for a nice little mellow stream. You're helping me, make sense of, the streaming formats, future topics, and, always good. Thank you for the donations. That was so overwhelming. I'm very grateful for you guys to pitch in. That's up to you, you know? But thank you, Green Glass Full. Thank you, Edward the Pale for the sticker. Of course, Media Hits. Sorry, I don't like making people wait on the to read them out, so I'm sorry I got sidetracked there and I missed some of them. We'll try and get a better handle on that. And, the Captain's what is it, Captain Steel? Should have brought a list of metal bands. Ah, we can, if you guys got any questions about them, we can always, hash it out. Not talking about smoking hash, I just mean hash out the details. But anyways, thank you, George Puente, Record Deepness, Charlemagne, of course, for tuning in. Always a pleasure. Subject to change. The Mosils. I'm mispronouncing that. I'm sorry. Captain Steel. Yeah, thank you, Captain Steel. That was more than enough. Chief Trumpster, of course. Mike Floyd. But all right, all right. Well, we're done here. We're done. Done. Done with this. How do we do on social media? I forgot I posted it like that. That's pretty funny. Aw. Aw. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Ace, have you ever watched any cool Korean? I don't think so. Korean films? Not that I'm aware of. If you got any recommendations, by all means. But if not, send you a link to one of my vids with a sample of that. Oh, of course, of course. I guess we could shill the Telegram since we're in the after hours. I remember this was a yeah. Here we go. Figured out how to do the what is this? Oh, this is supposed to be my homework. I'm gonna put the Telegram link in my Google Doc homework for right now for time saving. Watch the Korean movie JSA from 2000. All right, thank you guys. All right, if you guys want updates for the show, and also just for you guys to hang out, mingle. Yeah, thank you, Media Hits, for the jazz dialogue. I think we're gonna stay here for a few moments since we're AA's throwing his hat in the ring, Paul Fahrenheit. So hey, we'll I'll be trying to investigate this stuff. All right, thank you guys. Thank you, Akuma Johan for uh for pitching in. Appreciate you guys. We'll be back relatively soon. Take it easy, man. and don't be so serious.